Method, what I teach to new customers. Hi, my name is Althea Gobble. I'm an independent saint beauty artist, and the Demi Method is basically makeup that's using color instead of foundation and concealer. And it's more about balance and tone, and the very first action that we take is going after those light areas which typically we have ignored for years, and we've been going about it all wrong. And it has been a game changer to new ladies of mine. So I wanted to show you, when I get a new customer, what it is that I teach them to use, how to use these colors, and their first order of action when applying the product. Ask any questions in the comments. Let's see if I can zoom in just a little. All right, I'm first going to focus on light areas. And when I'm talking about light areas, I'm talking stuff that is flashy, has like absence of color, like right in here, these little areas. Let's zoom in more. Let's get really close and personal. Let me fix my brushes. All right, do you see in here? This is a light area, light right in here, and our skin changes daily. Sometimes I get a little red in certain spots, and then it goes away, and I'm more pale. I prefer the red because at least it's some color. But you can see different angles that I get right in here and here. And of course, I have wrinkles. I am 53 years old. So yes, you're going to get wrinkles, and that is part of the aging process. Even though with good skincare, even with Botox, you're still going to get some kind of wrinkling. But again, what accentuates that wrinkling, or things that we call distractions or areas of shadow or darkness, is the lack of color. It's the high contrast between light and dark. So we're going to attack the light areas first, and you will find the color that what our eyes are drawn to is more true to our skin color. They might have a little bit of excess to them, but we worry about that at the end. But if we bring a little bit of balance to the contrast, so that means adding color where so let's see, we have lack of color, you want to add color, and where there's excess color, subtract it, so we can get them back and more in harmony with each other. And you can do this multiple ways, and if you've been seeing any of my content, I'm going to put a little bit of lip conditioner on, which is also in my palette. Everything I'm doing here is going to work out this palette. So it's very nice to have everything nice and convenient here. And lost my train of thought. Let's see. Oh, you've seen me do this in different ways. I've used the contours, I've done bronzers, and I've even done a self-tanner. And then we have the sculpt products as well with the Demi correctors. I'm going to first start with the Demi sculpts and the part of the Demi line. Even though they're discontinued, you can use a cream contour. So here I have indigo contour, I could use that. This is NV plus 1 and NR. I like even a combination of all of those because they all have some value of red in it. And adding red, especially right into this area of our face, as we have aged, we're losing collagen, we're losing volume, and we kind of look grayish, very violet, icy looking in certain areas, and that is due to the lack of redness in the skin and blood flow. So we're going to put back a little more redness here. Some people already automatically have a lot of excess red, but they may want to balance it in between the spaces to bring more balance to it so it looks smooth, and then take away a little bit of the excess in small areas. It's never the entire area as it appears. It's really just what's excess. And so we're looking at the excess as in the opposite direction first. I'm going to use NV plus 1. This is a violet. That means a neutral violet, so it's going to have some form of red, because what makes violet is red and blue. But it has a little bit of depth in it. I've done this different ways, and I have Some days I like the NR, some days I like indigo, some days we can also use the tanner method, using self-tanner with a pen, and I have tutorials on that, and I continue to use that. But some people are kind of afraid with that at first, but this is what we do to learn that concept of finding the light areas. So I'm taking a spot brush, and you're lightly just getting a little bit of color on the ends of the bristles. And if you feel like you get too much, you can tap it away, but you can see you don't actually see the product going on the skin. And I'm focusing, see how you see the product on the skin? I wouldn't blend it because you're going to move it in areas of excess color. You can tap it with your finger or the end of the brush, and you just go up and down and remove any kind of excess. And you just kind of don't spend a whole lot of time in one little area. And after a little bit, you will quickly find how fast your focus goes onto the light areas. It's training the eye, and suddenly it's kind of like riding a bike. You just suddenly start seeing the light areas, and it becomes like your focus first, and the little excess color areas are not your first initial focus. So if you can see what's taking place as I do this, even with this area of redness right here, right next to it's a little light spot. It's actually a little technique with photography called dodge and burn. Do you see how this little area, I still have just a slight bit of darkness, but what I've done is what was light, I've added a little bit of value to it and brought it back up, and that now that what we thought was really excess color is not as bad, but it does need a little bit, and I can take it and it puts them on the same plane of value. And you just kind of do this all over. I like to start in the delicate areas first around the eyes, because that's typically where we're drawn to first. And your brush size is always going to match the size that you are attacking. So you see how this is softening up, and I'm just hitting and turning your head in different directions can help. And keep in mind, we just want to use a little. And if you get too much on your brush, that's the reason why I'm starting here when I'm teaching my ladies this concept, using a contour, a bronzer, or even these wonderful sculpts. I really like these sculpts because they have a 10% opacity, so it kind of works like a stain or a tint, and it's got very low opacity, so your skin color actually gets to come through and makes it undetectable on the skin. So but it takes very little. I don't want to actually dive into the product and see it on the skin, but that can happen, especially when you're learning, or we get overly hyper focused and keep touching an area. But it's okay, you just tap it away. This is a great. So I take a little time right here around my eyes first, and do you see how this is softening up from where I began? And do you see how when I've not touch this, because when you touch your skin, you're going to bring some blood flow to the surface. So understand that. That's the reason why you just kind of touch and go. But as the skin is not touched and it calms down, you can actually see the way it's going to look. And do you see how this high contrast now is minimized? And it helps this heavy ridge that I have there, just from volume loss, from aging. And you want to turn your head side to side to kind of get, see I got a little heavy in there. So I'm just going to go up and down and lightly tap away because I got heavy-handed. Now I'm going to still have a little bit of excess, but remember, that's not my focus at first. I'm going to save it to the end. Now I want to do the same thing with my nose. I really love this concept around my nose because I have a very textured nose, and contouring and makeup just accentuates it. When I say makeup, I'm meaning foundation, concealer, it doesn't matter. The primer that you put on there, primer is just extra product. I already have my skincare on, and that's really all I need. So the least amount of product I can put on my nose, the better. So what happens if I focus on the color in missing areas? This is very typical on the nose to have light spots on your nose from sun damage and wear and tear. We'll get excess red, but around the red on your nose, there's going to be some light areas. So attacking the light areas first is definitely going to help balance, and it takes off the stress of learning how to contour your nose, which I was never really good at, and most people aren't. You see that light spot on the end of my nose, or on the bridge of my nose? And you can even use smaller brushes. I probably should pick up a smaller brush for that. You can see how that put the nose into balance with the rest of my face, and I only added color. And I even have some redness in my nose. I have broken capillaries here, but now the nose is in balance and in tone with the rest of my face just by adding some color in those light areas. I'm still going to have little spots of excess color, but again, like I've said, that is for the end. So this is another delicate area, especially for mature women, where you have the folds and all of that. So this can get kind of harsh. So we're going to do the same concept where this high contrast is. So there's a light area here and a light area here. So we're going to kind of bring that value up, and then we'll go back and subtract and kind of flatten it and soften that edge. So it's not, I mean, nothing's going to get rid of the fold, but the color, if we can work on the excess color, it helps texture and it helps how the angles are and when light hits the face. So again, using the exact same color. This is a great color because violet has some blue in it, it has some red in it. So it's going to add depth and it's going to add color. And this is a very translucent color, so it's easy to use. Do you see that's already softening by adding some color on the other side of it? Same thing here. Now look, you see how I got too much product? I'm not going to sweat it. I don't want to like thinking you messed up. You don't want to rub it and you don't want to blend it because it's going to go in areas of excess color, and then you're going to be, you know, one step forward, two steps back. See how that little red spot on my cheek? When I added color in between there, it's actually not as bad. And do you see how this is a little bit softened now? See this little light area here? Just going to add a little bit of color. Now I could also do this exact same concept with a cheek color here, since it's in my cheek area. Like I said, this is so versatile, so many different ways to do it. The idea is always going to be the same. Use something very saturated in color with some depth in it and put it in the light areas. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing. Do you see the difference? How this is softened? There's a little bit here. And I find, I mean, you can get zeroed in, but I find looking away at the mirror in distance and kind of getting a feel of the overall balance of the face first. And then once you isolate, okay, this is a light area, then I use the mirror and say, oh, it's just like a spot. And I just touch it, and then you look back away and say, wait a second, that one spot put the whole thing in balance. And that's how it works. So this is a lot softer. a lot softer. And notice I didn't put any color inside there in this little dark area. This is excess, so I will filter that out with the Demi corrector at the end, not now. Only focusing on light. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Got too much product, so I just tap it. I just put a new tin of NV plus one in my compact. So sometimes when they're new, they're kind of soft on the top, so my brush will pick it up, but a lot more, and it's okay. It just tap it away. So right in here, as we age, this, see how I added a little color in there, and this actually gives more volume to my lip. All of this lightness brings heaviness, and it shows like droopiness. So we really want to shorten that up. So adding a little color here. And watch how it will give more volume. A lot of ladies, it's very common to get some hyperpigmentation, like a little mustache here. If you have that, it doesn't mean you can't do this. You just are not going to go, you are going to have some light areas there. Typically it's closer up to the nose, and you just attack that area. See how these are so much softer? And see, like, loss of volume, the cheek has fallen, so this is a little light area. So I'll look in my mirror, and it's actually just a couple little spots. See this red area, and then there's this light area. Now I'm going to do a cheek color. I mean, I could do this with cheek color, but I'm just going to show you. I can use this sculpt all by itself if you have naturally red cheeks. Lucky you. I wish I had more. A nice pretty flush I think is pretty. But do you see how I just filled in that light area, and now it's given a nice even tone to the overall area? And see how this, taking away that flashiness, showing that elongation of the top lip, it actually is adding some Hey Juliet. It actually is adding a little bit of volume to that top lip. So I would consider this all the delicate area. The other area I would consider delicate that you would probably need a little brush with is the chin area, because it's very animated, and I'm going to do a little there. So, and also around the lip. So right in there, it's kind of light, and I want a little more depth of color here to match the same value as the lip area. Do you see how this is now giving me more volume to the lip by adding a little bit, so it's not so like this, where the mouth has fallen. Same concept over here. And what I really like about this is, you know, with aging, you're going to have lines, and they call them smoker lines, no matter if you smoke or not, but this can really soften those. You see how I'm just hitting like, and using this like a marker, and notice you don't see like product on the skin. You're just using it as a tint or a stain temporarily. So right in there, adding a little bit there and in the chin area. So you just kind of look, do different animations, and you will see different angles. And again, I'm still using one little small brush, because these are all little delicate areas. Notice, see how that had a softened, where that is like a little indentation. See this one right here? Smiling, and gonna add a little there. You can work this on, like if you have a raised bump, you take it and put a little bit on the top, and then filter out what's on bottom, and it flattens up that raised area. Now you can continue the same concept on your forehead if you have a lot of like melasma in this area. And I have a lot of examples on my account of different ladies I've done, and what looks like, oh my gosh, that is just way too much. There's no way I can do that. It's going to be time consuming. They find it's actually just one or two places. You can add some color and it's completely in tone and in balance with very little product. So in here today, the skin's kind of happy and not as, sometimes I get a little red here according to skin treatment or how skin changes. But today is kind of happy, so I'm not going to do any kind of toning in this area, but I do like to add a little bit of color to my forehead, some depth of color, but thank goodness some of this hyperpigmentation is fading away with skincare, and it makes it a little easier. So since it's a larger area, and it's pretty much, and I do find most ladies' foreheads are in somewhat wider spaces of high contrast, so it's a little easier to add depth of color, meaning they can use a bigger brush and not have to fine tune in all of these little delicate areas. So I'm going to do the exact same thing and add a little depth of color up here. Typically what happens with our forehead as we age is we definitely are losing volume. This is closer to the bone, so there's less fat and that kind of thing here. And it kind of gets that white cast, yellow cast to the, because it's close to the bone, and it just kind of doesn't go into balance with our chest and the rest of our face, where all of this color right in here in the center part of our face, right in here is where all of our blood vessels are closer to the skin. And so we tend to get more color in here and less there. So we're going to add that. I want to use the exact same color to keep things simple. You can do multiple things. You can use a bronzer, you can use a contour, or you can use a sculpt, or you can use a tanner. And I have examples on all that, like I said. So I'm going to use a bigger end, and I'm lightly only tapping in the ends of the bristles. We don't want to dive in and get so much product, and I'm only using the ends of the bristle to add a little bit of depth of color in those areas. And see if I see it. I'm not going to panic. I do have blue veins up there, and I like a little orange, and I will throw some warmth up in here, but this is adding the depth for me first. And do you see how this is becoming more in balance with the rest of my face? Now in here I'm hollow and I have nice blue veins. So I don't want to add any more blue to that. I'm going to add some warmth to that. So do you see how this has a little more depth to it? The skin doesn't look as thin, and it's in balance with the rest of my face. Now I'm going to use this beautiful orange color, which is translucent. This is 05. And I'm going to use the small end of this brush because the areas that I want to work with kind of match that little area, and it looked like I got too much. I wasn't paying attention when I was talking, so I just used the little cleaning towel and wipe it off. I want to warm up these pretty little blue veins and this icy color that's in my hairline right in there. You can use this anywhere. I like to use this in shadowed areas. I like to use it where I do have a lot more blue veins. Do you see how that's just so much warmer? Love it. I'm going to take just a hint, and in this area where I have another blue vein, goes right upside my face. Bird going to build a nest. All right in here. Do you see that blue vein goes down in here? And I just want to warm that up. So blue and orange are opposites. So what's blue on the skin is excess shadow. So I'm more hollow on this side of my face than I'm here. So right in there, it's just super cuts in and creates this shadowed cast. So I like to take a little, and I'm not hitting, sometimes I get some excess color in here, so I would use a small brush to hit it into those areas I want, but today the skin's a little happier and makes it a little easier. But I would always adjust to, and see here, down to here, that's kind of like an icy blue vein that goes up there, which is, I find, is very common with ladies as we age, losing the color, especially if you are medium to fair. Now, I like to take a little bit of that orange and take the big end here and give a little bit of color underneath here. Now, so far I've only used 2 colors and I'm almost done. Okay, so now this gives me a good balance, and all I've used is NV and this orange, and now I have a nice even tone. Now I'm going to do a little bit of decorating. I want a little more flesh to my cheeks. I'm going to pick up a smaller brush like this. This is the bigger end of the spot brush that I use for NV+1, and I'm going to use this one, and I want a little bit more flesh to my cheeks, but yet I do have some hyperpigmentation in there. So I'm going to use a color called Red 3, and the red, this is just a pink, a pretty pink, but we call it Red 3 because it's like a medium saturation of red. And remember, these colors are translucent, and I'm going to do the same thing areas where I don't have redness. I'm going to put a little bit of pink, and I like to even take a little underneath my eye in this little light area. And do you see how that has a way of softening hyperpigmentation, brings a little brightness, and it adds a little bit of red to my skin without being like fiery red. Do the same thing here. And when I'm touching the tin, I just want to barely touch the ends of the bristles. And when I apply the bristles to the skin, I'm not wanting to bend the brush and like swipe. I just want to tap in like little light spots where I want a little bit of flush, or if it looks kind of muddy and dull. I love it. Then I like to take a little here. Like I've said, we lose color up here on our forehead as we age. And I like to add a little bit of health up there. Just a little health right in there. Okay, now that is basically, besides filtering out excess color, that's all I'm going to do today. Sometimes I get a little more violet in here, and I can tone that with a yellow like I have here. But today, like I said, it's being friendly to me. I'm going to take a little bit of Red 3, okay? Just a little of that pink. And let's bring a little bit of pink up here on my nose to match the rest. See? People are so afraid of adding some color. But see, it doesn't make sense to me to add foundation to make everything blank and then we add all this color on top of it. I am balancing the color ahead of time. That's naturally in my skin already. All right, now I'm going to do my brows. I'm going to do the same thing to my eyes, my lips, and then we'll worry about the excess color. I think it's easier on your eyes to get an overall feel for the entire face in balance instead of worrying about all details as you're going. So I'm going to put a little color on my brows. Sometimes I've been using indigo contour. Lately I've been liking this little pen. It's okay, but you know, the only thing I don't like about these pens, because they advertise that it makes like little hair marks, but I have not found one that makes the hair marks. I've not. This one is L'Oreal Micro Ink Pen, and I like the color. It's in between a brownish red, which makes it a little cooler than my actual hair, but doesn't get it too dark that it makes my eyes a little drab. Okay, now there's brows. Now I'm going to do my eyes. Okay, I do have tattooed eyeliner, and I have been often erasing it or bringing it more warmth. It's a little cool, and as I've aged, it's not complementing. Sometimes it goes with what I'm wearing or what I'm doing, but sometimes if I want a softer look, it can accentuate the darkness under my eyes. So I can erase it though, using the Demi correctors. Sometimes I can erase it completely by using an orange and a red, the red to take away, I don't want to go too far away and subtract it too much and take away too much value that it looks odd. I need a little bit of color around my lash line, but sometimes I can use the medium saturation and make it match. If I'm not wearing makeup that day, I will just do this on my eyeliner and it will make it match the rest of it, and it just looks like I have no makeup at all. But today, since I am putting on makeup, I just want to take away the depth of color and make it warmer. So I'm going to use the 05, and this is going to actually tone and neutralize the blue and the depth of color in the tattooing, but drop in some warm at the same time. So it's not going to erase, it's just going to change the tone of it. So I'm going to use a little 05, and I'm using the edge brush. All of my brushes I'm using are from Saint. I do have a couple other brushes I use that you just get at Walmart in the artist section. I really like those. But I do have to say the Demi brushes by far are designed to work in this concept. I'm sure there's other brushes, but these are the ones I use. I'm just tapping this right in where the tattooed eyeliner is. Do you see the difference? See how it softened up? Now watch this eye too. Do you see? We did add some color. This is very soft, or softer. Now I'm going to subtract that depth of color around my eye, the perimeter of my eye. And to me, this made my eye look bigger, and it shows more of my eye color. I don't know, I just really love it. And here, watch this. So see, look at the difference. And I'm going right into it, right on top. Sometimes I get it on my lashes, but it's okay because I'm going to put on some mascara. Do you see how that got softer? Because now the eyes, I have a tutorial that I demonstrated this, and it's because the eyes are drawn to what's dark first. And once we take away what has so much depth of color, then the things that we thought that were on the same value of depth as what was the darkest actually ends up being not the same at all. It's actually a lot lighter. It's just how the brain works. So we're kind of tricking the brain, thinking, okay, these are not the same level. And they're not. This was not on the same level of intensity as that, but it was accentuated because of it. All right, I'm going to take the bright brush. It's a little bit bigger than the spot brush that I was using. And I'm just going to use the exact same color. Make it simple. It's NV+1, and I'm going to get a little bit here. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to add some depth of color in little light areas. So like I said, this is a concept that photographers use when they're editing skin. It's called dodge and burn. So I am burning the light areas and dodging the dark areas. I guess I just know that the technique is adding color to light areas. And do you see how this is opening up my eye? I am adding a little depth to those light spots. And it's actually sculpting out and showing the true shape of my eye. Oh, there's a little birdie. Oh my gosh, they're building a nest. Okay, do the same thing here. So far, how many colors have I used? 1, 2, 3. 3 colors, that's it. yes, I have more colors in my palette. It gives me options, it lets me play, but on a day-to-day, I'm not going to use all these colors to do my whole face. I don't need it. I just need something to add depth. I like having the options because sometimes, you know, your skin changes day to day. So added, oh, love it. Love it. I'm going to take a little bit of the NV and right here in the outer corner, just like so. That little light spot there. All right, now I'm going to take a little brush. This is just an artist paintbrush. I love this one. I got it from Amazon. But what I really like about it, it's not too short and it's not too long. And I have a little bit of wiggle room with it. So you can see I have worn it out. But I got this on Amazon. You have to buy, the only thing is it's better to buy a whole packet, but you're not going to use the whole packet. You're just going to use one of them. And I like it because it has the nice little holes on it. Now I'm going to subtract. No, I'm not going to subtract color yet. I'm going to do my lips. I'm going to use the same color. Let's make it easy. And I'm going to add a little bit in these light little spots on my lips. See, look, you know your lips can get light and dark areas too. And I'm just adding a depth of color to my lips and paying attention more on the outside corners than the inside. So I'm just tapping in some extra color. And because I'm using so little, I've heard, since I'm using so little, it's going to last me a long time. It's going to, why? Because there's not so much on the skin that shifts and pulls each other away and rides around on your skin. I have heard and read and watched people say if you want more your makeup to last longer, add more. That doesn't make sense to me. The skin can only, it's a moving thing, it can only take so much. So it seems more sense to me, less on the skin allows it to sit on the ups and downs on your face and not move as much. So the least amount you can put on the skin, the longer it's going to last. So you need something that has a lot of pigmentation in it to give more bang for your buck. So you do have to use very little. And some people love makeup and they think they have to have all kinds of product to use. That's totally fine. But I do find most ladies want less. Now, you may not take this much time to do your lips. You don't have to. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I put on lip gloss or chapstick with a little bit of tint in it and go. But for demonstration purposes, I'm going to show you how that changes the shape of my mouth. And all I'm doing is adding it into areas of light. Now I'm going to take a little bit of that pink that I used on my cheeks, that red 3, just right here in the center. Okay, now I'm going to focus on the dark areas. So we're going to subtract. But now that I have toned the entire area, I've added color, all of these areas of excess color now are not as stark, and what I thought was going to be a daunting task and filter out all the excess is not like a major deal to me anymore. So I find it's really helpful to my ladies when they're doing this is kind of look away from the camera and do something else, get your eyes distracted, let your skin come down a little bit for about a minute from being touched, and then look in the mirror. And you're going to be thinking, wait a second, it looks actually really good. What I thought was very distracting is not as stark and standing out. So I'm going to do a couple of these little areas because what I thought here that I need to take away, which I do have a couple little hot spots, but I'm going to start here. And this is mostly red, so red is actually violet, and I'm going to use this color Y01, and I'm going to use a little tiny artist brush, and I'm just going to tap right on top of that color. Now this is going to take away the majority of the red, and it's going to have a little bit of excess color in it. And I mean, that looks okay, and I could leave it like that, but around it is kind of dull. Dull is blue, so I'm going to use this 03. These are what we call the Demi correctors. There we go. Then I'm going to take this Y01, subtract the red, you don't want to put it on and then tap away or take a brush and blend it, because you're going to shift it in areas where there's not a lot of excess color, and it creates this halo effect, so it makes a bullseye. Say, look here. I tried to erase something. So I just want to put it in balance. Now, I still have variation of color. It doesn't look like one color. I still have all of these skin natural colors, but there's nothing that's interrupting the mosaic of color, and that's what I want. I don't want it to look like skin. I want it to just look like the best skin that I can have, and I don't want it to look as if someone's standing next to me and look and say, oh, what pretty makeup. I just want them to see me and a toned, even balanced skin, and no distracting little bumps and things that are not common to my everyday skin or the shape of my face or anything like that. It's just things are disruptors in a mosaic of color. This is not going to erase wrinkles. Anybody tells you that it can do that, it's not true. Okay, but you can minimize the appearance. The color of it will actually minimize the texture of the wrinkles and make them softer, but not going to erase them. All right, do you remember right here in the folds how we added color? I'm going to take just a little here and go right in here, and it's never really like a line. You don't want to draw a line and then tap it away. It was, again, just a couple little spots in there, and you see how that's softened. Okay, watch this. I'm going to do it again. I mean, look, I'm barely touching it. You need very little. And so I don't want to draw a line because it is never the entire thing. All right, what's accentuating that when I look is, okay, there's a dot there, and there's a hot spot there, and right in there. And once I put it in those areas, look how much softer it is. The other place is as it goes into the nose right here. As we age, this tends to get a little deeper. So I'm going, that means there's some excess color in there, like a broken capillary. I'm not going to try to fill in this space with product, because now I'm back to where I have product all over my nose, and I don't want that. Now do you see how that's softened? See, it's just some broken capillaries. I'm using this yellow orange. And honest to Pete, you can get away with a lot with just this one color. It's going to take care of a lot of ladies. I love it. All right. Couple of places on my chin. See this little area? I may not show up on camera, but I can see it, and it's just a couple little areas. Now, we can spend some more time. Most ladies don't have the time, but if we wanted to, we could do tons. I mean, you don't want to spend and put all kinds of this product going over top of each other. You just want to take out the excess. I'm just going to make your skin look the best. Oh my gosh, love it. Okay, next, see this blue vein. I like to take care of that. And then I'm going to do one more thing, and I think we're done. One more thing. So this little blue vein, it sticks out, and it has like a little ridge on it. See that little light area? I'm going to clean off my brush, and I'm going to get a little bit of the NR, a little bit of red. I could use the NV here. Let's make it simple. NV. Okay. And I smile, and it's never following it. It's just a couple little dots there. Got too much product. And I'm adding some depth of color on the top section. Okay, see that little light? It just bulges out. It's nice. I'm not going to get rid of it. I just want to disguise the ups and downs of it a little. Clean off my brush. Now under it is going to be a shadow. So shadows are blue. So I'm going to use an 03. It's a medium saturation of orange. I don't want to take away all the color. Now, if I really want to take away some more color, I would go down a lower saturation because we're adding and subtracting. So if it's high color, I just want to bring it down a little. Now, you can subtract it all and take it way down, but then it might be out of balance with everything else that's underneath near that area. And you will see it. It's not like you have to learn like a whole new way. I promise you, you see what few products I'm using just by trial and error and playing. You can see how that's how I learned, just trial and error and playing around on my face and making myself use very few products. And you see how that really helps flatten out. It's not going to go away now. Nothing's going to make that go away. But the distracting color is in balance now. Now I'm going to do one more thing, and then I'll put on mascara, and then I'm done. I like to use this red one. I could tell, don't need it. This is just extra. But the red one, again, is going to subtract a lot of anything green, which is pigment. Anything pigment is going to subtract, especially from medium to the fair. And I'm going to use this red one. So it's going to subtract a lot. So I need to use it the least amount because you don't want it to look like toothpaste. And keep in mind, this is translucent. So it's 10% opacity. I need just a little. And right in here, where sun has come down on my cheeks and stuff, there's just a slight bit of dull brown right in this spot. And I like to take a little bit, you saw just a few dots, and it softens and takes out a little bit of that brown. And it makes my cheek look a little fuller, so it popped it out a little bit, okay? So here we're subtracting a lot of the color and bringing it down, which again, all right, see here, same thing, but this is in a different spot. It's a couple little brown freckles in there, if you want to call them that. I mean, I had freckles as a kid. I guess 53, we don't call them freckles anymore. Call them sunspots, age spots, but I've always had these freckles here, or a patch there. But as we age, the high contrast happens. Do you see how that softened that a little bit? And I'm just the tiniest dot, and I can totally not do this. This has been extra today, and right in here. But it's always in the same vicinity on all these ladies that I work with. And so I tell them, just kind of find a little area in there. And you'll know when you don't, if you can't see it, you'll know when you've missed it because it's going to show up. Also for play, little extra, not necessary, but right here in the center, some of that dull brown right there in the center part. Okay? Completely done. All right, that, I mean, look, sorry, I made you wiggle. All right, this is what I used. This is all I used. I used NV plus 1. I used 05. And then I used red 3. And then I used red 1 and the oranges. So 1, 2, 3. I used this the least amount. I mean, you could totally, I didn't have to do that. I could probably use the red 3 and did a little more, but this just subtracted some more. So I used 1, 2, 3, 4 colors, plus this one, 5 colors in total. And that's it. Now I'm going to add mascara. and I'm completely done. And I will share my before and afters. I'll put them in my story. So if you're interested in being a new customer, what new customers get, they get a detailed tutorials, videos tailored just to you, helping you identify those light to dark areas on your skin and how to place the color and what tools to use. And it's never going to be a plethora of tons of product. Just like I showed you 5 little tins, and literally these tins, you see how little you use would last you a very long time. I'm saying over a year because you use so little of it. So you will get detailed tutorials and specific to you, and video clips and graphics and which colors to use. And if you are interested in that, you can go to yes.altheagobble.com. The link is in my profile. And you can also just go grab the colors that I just used at altheagobble.com and play along. I have tons of tutorials on my page. I appreciate you guys joining in. I'm going to jump off, put on my mascara, and I'll share my before and after. Thank you for joining in.